Welcome everyone. I'm glad that you are here. In this video, I want to give you some hints on how to format the clock for the Jada Clock project, which is project 1. In the past, so many students have struggled with, and it's really quite simple. And I want to show you 3 different ways to do it, and then I will show you the way that I actually did it as well, which is part of one of the 3s. So I'll start off with this top over here. So let me explain some of these things in here that are really not used in this video, but they're there because you will need them for other things that you might be doing. So we are going to use IOStream, and of course we need IOmanip in order to set the width. We need string for various things. We're not going to use vector, but vector is included in here because it will be needed in the future. Same thing with C-type. It's not really used here for character functions. Limits also is not used here, but I put it in because a lot of people like to use see and ignore, and I want to show you the easiest way to do that. And SSStream is also a very simple way for you to format numbers into strings. And that's the way I actually did it. But let's just take a look at the very simplest way in here, which is just displaying the time. So we have 3 integers that are going to be passed. So I've created some different simple things, display time, 5, 10, 23. I didn't actually create variables for it. It's just simpler to do it this way for demonstration purposes. So let's look at the display time function. And it doesn't really help you with the stars and all the other things, but you can use it as well. And I'll tell you how to do it. So notice that we have display time. We're using hours, minutes, and seconds. Now notice that I'm spelling out hours, minutes, and seconds and not putting H, M, and S. So you always want to use descriptive variable names. So because I included IOmanip, I can set fill to 0, which means that if I set a width, which I'm doing right here, setting width of 2, and it is not as large as the width, it will fill with 0. So if we have hours, say 5 o'clock, it's going to do 05. And same thing with minutes and seconds. So all I've done here is see out, set fill 0, and then set width 2, and hours, put in the colon, set width 2. Now, with set fill, it's set it and forget it. But with the set width, it's one and done. So just remember that it's okay to put in set fill 0, set fill 0, set fill 0 if you like. However, you don't have to for set fill. Just remember you do for set width. It works only for hours. The rest will be whatever it is. So that's all it takes to do this. And then you can do see out star and a space, and then this over here, and then see out star and a space to set however you want to do for the clock. So let's just take a quick look at what you need to do. So you have a bunch of stars here, and notice they're side by side, and then you have star here. So what you can do is star and a bunch of spaces and this. Do not use tab, but the purpose of this video is to just show you how to do this. So if you're using this method here that I just showed you, you could do see out star and whatever number of spaces this is, and then do the other see outs for this right here, and then a bunch of spaces and a star here. Now the good thing is if you print it out and you're off by 1 star, you can always put in an extra space or take out a space, whatever you feel like doing. Same thing with the 24-hour clock. Now notice that my format doesn't have PM or AM on it for the first one. That's an easy fix to do, which you'll see later on. So this is all it is. So let's just take a quick look at the other ones, and then we'll run the program. So I have 2 separate display times in there. Now I have format date, OSS, and just plain format date in here. So I'm going to do the format date because that's a little bit like what the Sense AI shows you in there, because it's telling you to convert to a string. So let's go and take a look at that. And again, notice that there are integers, hours, minutes. And I always feel it's very best, and I ask for you to do it in this class, to always declare all variables, initialize them, and comment it. Now, I don't have any comments in here for demonstration purpose, so it's much easier to see. Then I will show you my fully commented program at the end. So what I'm doing here is I'm using string hours, string minutes, and string seconds, and I'm converting it using a function called 2-character dates, which is going to return 2 characters. So let's take a quick look at this. So notice that we're passing the time. So it's either going to be passing hours, minutes, or seconds. It's all going to be the same thing. So again, I'm declaring something called string time. Then I'm checking to see if it's less than 10. If it is, we need to append a 0 onto it. And then toString will convert an integer to a string. So if it's 5, it'll convert it to the string 5. If it's 15, it'll convert it to the string 15. So if it's less than 10, then we need to add a leading 0. If not, we don't have to do anything to it except convert it to a string. And then we're returning that string. So then what we're doing is I am doing string hours equals character date, string minutes equals character date, string seconds, and then I'm just appending them all. So I'm returning the string hours, adding a colon, the minutes, adding a colon, and the seconds returns that here. Now, you could also do return 2-character date hours plus this 2-character date minutes. I just feel this is neater and easier to understand. So let's go and look at our last one, which is the way I did it. And it's got many different reasons why I did it that way. Whatever way you feel the most comfortable, that's how you should do it. It's called format date and OSS. So we're using string stream in here. And that's very similar to cout, only instead of displaying it on the screen, it puts it into a string stream, actually. So let's go and take a look at that. So I'm declaring a variable of type OString stream, which means anytime I use OSS, it's not going to display it on the screen. It's going to actually write it to a string. So here this is not actually necessary, but this is how you initialize something to make sure there's nothing in it. The reason why I do it is people will use OSS more than one time, and it just keeps adding on to it. So this is what you would need to go and create it so it's blank, it's empty. Not really necessary in this particular case, but it's always good to do something if you don't need it rather than need it and not done it. So here we are, instead of using cout, we're using fix. Now, because we're not using numbers, we don't really need to have it, but it's always a good habit to do it anyway. We're setting the width to 2, set fill to 0, hour, and then we're just basically using this like a giant cout, like we did in the other cout. And then I have something called formatted time and this is how you get what's in the stream. It's the variable name, which is OSS, a period, and a function called string in there. And then we're returning this, and it looks like I have an extra semicolon. Not really sure why, but I do. So let's run this program and see what we get. And so we have 5, 10, 23, 23, 05, 07. And then I had the formatted date 23, 05, 07. And then it returns 23, 05, 07. And this is 23, 09. So let's see where they came from. It came from all of this. So that is everything. Let me show you what my final commented code looks like. And I think you'll see why I did not do that. So what I've done is, honestly, I use ChatGPT to write my comments for me. And they re-comment everything. So sometimes you have to take stuff out because they make things that really very obvious. But it's always easier to take out a comment. So you can see how I have my function prototypes in here and a very just one-line thing of what it does for it in here. Again, we don't really need this in this program. This is basically for see and ignore. It's just a lot easier. I declared a constant variable. Notice that it's all capital letters and an underscore and then int and then numeric limits in here. So that way I don't have to do see out, ignore, and constantly write this every single time. And then we don't really need to worry about the purpose of main. I think we know what it does. And so you can see how it does comment everything. But let's get a look at a function display time in here. So notice that it tells you exactly what the purpose of the function does in here. And then it gives you some good comments. Now, there's really not much to this in here, but it does tell you what set width is for and what cell is, what set fill. This is a little bit more detailed. So we're formatting the date using an O-string object and returning the result. So it gives you all of the information, gives you a little bit of information about O-string stream in here. And then it's telling us some information here. Notice it says clear the internal string buffer, not necessary, but safe practice in here. And then the comments here, same thing with 2-digit dates in here. So it gives you some really good stuff. So I highly recommend that when you get done writing your code, if you don't want to write your own comments, which are required in this class, you want to just copy and paste it into ChatGPT and ask it to create comments. However, make sure if you use ChatGPT, make sure that you specify, do not change any code. Let me repeat that. If you use ChatGPT to put in comments, make sure that you tell it, do not change any code, because it may change code to the way it feels things should get done, and then you may possibly lose points if it changes it to something that it goes against programming standards. So I have sent out emails with the programming standards, so please make sure that you take a look at it and see, and let's see if there's anything else. So this is pretty much everything for this video. So hopefully this will be helpful for you. Please like it if you do, and hopefully you will. Please leave a comment in there. These things help me with getting future videos out. So have a wonderful day. Hopefully this is helpful. See you soon.